Welcome to the Trippi Coaching Podcast, where we bring you the latest insights and practical tips on health, weight loss, and overall wellness. I'm your host, Andrea Trippi, weight loss and confidence coach, along with Tommy Else, personal trainer. And today we're diving into a topic that's a daily staple for many of us, and that's caffeine. Whether you're a coffee lover, a tea enthusiast, or you're known to throw back an energy drink, caffeine plays a significant role in our lives. But how does it impact our health and weight loss goals? In today's episode, we'll explore the pros and cons of caffeine, its effects on physical and mental performance, and how you can make informed choices about your caffeine consumption. So grab your favorite cup of joe, settle in, and let's get started.
The Trippi Coaching Podcast is sponsored by Hairborne Salon. Always looking for ways to make life easier for their clients, Hairborne is excited to launch their new online booking platform for appointment scheduling. Visit hairbornesalon.com to set up your account and schedule your next service, and be sure and tell them that the Trippi Coaching Podcast sent you to receive 10% off. Online booking is not required. You can also call 630-785-6862, or you can email them at info@hairbornesalon.com.
What's up, Tommy?
How you doing, Andrea?
Oh, I'm enjoying the cup of coffee that you make me
Yes.
before every podcast. Tommy, I come in and he goes, "You want some coffee?" And I go, "Yes, I do." And especially today is a nice cup. So
And it's always served in a Trippi Coaching Podcast coffee mug as well.
It is the tradition. And if I say no, I feel like the podcast isn't going to go well. So it's my daily Sunday Tommy coffee. Anyway, today we are looking at the pros and cons of caffeine, and we do get a lot of questions about this. Sometimes I even question myself on caffeine and whether it's good or whether it's bad for you. And I think the overall arching response is going to be in moderation, but we'll get into the pros and cons of it. So, Tommy, why don't you start us off with what you have here?
Well, let's look at what it is. Caffeine is the most widely used stimulant drug in the world. It's usually ingested in the form of, like you said in the opening, coffee, tea, soft drinks, and, of course, energy drinks. Caffeine is absorbed by the stomach and intestine, and peak blood levels occur about 45 to 60 minutes after ingestion. Once in the bloodstream, though, caffeine causes a number of responses in the body. Caffeine is well known, of course, for its stimulant effects on the brain, but there are a number of other effects that occur. So blood pressure, pulse rate, stomach acid production are increased. Fat stores are broken down, and fatty acids are released into the bloodstream. These effects can last from a few hours to as long as 12. So if I typically tell people, try not to have caffeine past, say, noon, if you can help it, because it can be in your system for the next 12 hours and affect your sleep. But if you are in a routine with this, after about 4 days or so of regular use, the body can develop a tolerance to the effects of caffeine. So, for example, if caffeine increases your blood sugar, your blood pressure, and your pulse, and you're a first-time user of caffeine, after using it for a little while, it won't have that effect on you anymore. Because caffeine increases the production of stomach acid, it can worsen ulcer symptoms, cause heartburn, give you that sick feeling in your gut where it's like you don't quite feel like you're going to throw up, but you feel kind of queasy a little
nauseous,
bit. Yeah. Especially if you have it on like an empty stomach. Regular use of caffeine in the evening too can, over time, like I said, deprive the body of proper sleep and result in lack of energy and fatigue. So again, if it doesn't always take 12 hours, but if you're a regular user and you're having it in the afternoon, odds are it's affecting your sleep. If you do use it on a regular basis and you try to discontinue abruptly using caffeine, it can trigger caffeine withdrawal symptoms. Most common symptoms are usually headache and fatigue. Headache can start as soon as 18 hours after the last time you've had it. Differences in your metabolism and diet and the frequency of caffeine all play factors into how it'll react to you. So if you're a real heavy caffeine drinker and then you just stop, odds are you're gonna notice it, and you may need to actually wean down off of it. Caffeine is also a mild diuretic, so it does cause dehydration, or at least has the potential to, especially if you're someone who's drinking more coffee than water during the day. If you're someone who's doing like a pot of coffee a day and having a couple of glasses of water, you're going to be definitely in a deficit from a hydration standpoint.
Yeah, coffee does not count as your daily water goal at all.
The thing with caffeine is if you rely on it on a daily basis, to like get through your day, if you're like someone who like, well, I can't start my day without caffeine, odds are you're probably too hooked on caffeine at that point. You want to run as much off of your natural body energy as possible. I have a cup of coffee every day. So, I mean, I'm not going to sit and say that I don't have coffee. So there's caffeine in there. An actual cup of coffee, though, is considered 4 ounces. Okay. Right. So let's define how much a cup of coffee is. So realistically, I have 6 ounces of coffee. So I'm having like a cup and a half. But that's all that I have. And it is nice. It's, it puts a nice little sharp edge on the morning. I do feel a little, clearer for a little while. But even that, it wears off. But it's a nice little high in the morning to have to kick things off. But if you keep trying to chase that by having a second cup and a third cup throughout the day, you're like I said, you're just going to build up that tolerance, and that second and third cup is going to become 4 and 5, and then you're going to stop coffee, and then you start getting into energy drinks, because those are combining caffeine with other chemicals and things like that, and you start chasing down energy that's false energy. It's chemical energy, and it's not coming from your metabolism. And if it's not coming from there, your body's not using its fat stores and its natural energy to get you around. So it's something that, again, like we said, moderation, but you don't want it to become a crutch.
Yeah, a lot of times coffee, at least for me, it's built around this social habit. Right. I mean, right. I brew mine. I perk mine in an old-fashioned glass percolator, and it's 14 minutes, and I love it. I love the smell.
Yeah.
I love taking that cup of coffee and talking to it in the morning. It makes me happy, and to not have that kind of throws off your day. That's part of my morning routine.
Yeah.
There are ways to limit the negative effects of coffee. One of the ways is I recommend to my clients, and I know you do too, I believe, at least drinking 16 ounces of water prior to having your coffee.
Yeah. I mean, I tell everybody the first thing you should drink in the morning before anything at all is at least 8 ounces of water, if not more. I mean, I would definitely do not have coffee as the first thing that your body takes in the morning. You've got to get some hydration in you, and you also just want that water to flush through your organs and your kidneys and things like that. Get a fresh start the engine on your body. Have something to eat, even if it's a small snack, and then you can incorporate some coffee.
Waiting 45 minutes to have your coffee in the morning from waking up, it allows that adenosine, I believe it's called, to flush out on its own. So that adenosine is a hormone that it's part of your cortisol level. And I should actually look into this more. But it releases, and it's that grogginess that you feel.
Sure.
So your body naturally wakes up. Yeah. And then you have the coffee, and then you're not going to find yourself dipping so much in that afternoon. Okay. So right. I really recommend waiting 30 to 45 minutes upon waking.
Give your body a chance to get there on its own instead mm-hmm. of trying to push it faster by having the caffeine.
Absolutely. Now, I have an issue with acid and caffeine and coffee. And sometimes, I when I first started my weight loss journey, I was diagnosed with 3 ulcers.
Oh.
Yeah, and that's kind of what prompted me to lose weight. So coffee can be acidic, and sometimes if I have too much of it, or if I don't eat properly, or if I haven't hydrated properly, I feel the effects, especially if I'm doing like a Starbucks later in the day mm-hmm. when in the middle of the night, my stomach is just killing me. So there are ways to lessen the acid in your coffee. And one of them is to choose a low acid coffee. There are brands out there that have a little less acid in it. But you could also choose a dark roast. Dark roasts are much less acid than like a blonde roast. And believe it or not, lighter roasts have a lot more caffeine in them and a lot more acid.
Well, I didn't know that. I am a blonde roast guy, so
you're jacking it up there.
Yeah, so it's good to know.
Yeah, it has to do with the roasting process and the way it breaks down the acidic component or compounds.
Sure.
Cold brew has a little less acid in it. So all you cold brew coffee people, I think you're okay with that for now.
I can't do.
I know, I don't like it either.
I just don't know how people drink cold coffee, but that's me.
No, I'm not. Mine has to be piping hot. And you know, it's funny when I do pull up to a Dunkin' or a Starbucks and I go, can I have a coffee with, whatever? And they're like, hot? And I'm like, well, yeah.
Why
like,
you?
She's like, well, it's like 98 degrees. Well, that doesn't matter for
Sometimes I wish I could do it just because it's like you can get it at a store easier than you can find a place that has coffee or whatever. But I mean, I don't know. It's just my taste.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. So this is what I found out interesting. And I actually was out to dinner with another couple. And this woman told me that her mother told her this a long time ago. So ready for this one? You could put a small amount of baking soda in your coffee when you're making it, and it reduces the acid level.
Yeah, I could see that.
And I guess you don't even taste it, but it has to be just a little bit. Otherwise, I'm going to assume it's going to be kind of chalky.
Yeah, well, or it might thicken it up a little. Who knows?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, but I buy that, sure.
Yeah. Another way to do it is to use paper filters. So in my case, I'm perking my coffee. I like to use a natural paper filter. I think they're talking about K-cups and stuff like that. So when you brew it from a plastic container, you're going to get a lot of different oils and different acidic compounds in that coffee as well. So,
and that's me as well, because I'm a Keurig guy. Because like I said, I just make my 1 6-ounce thing in the morning, and that's that. So,
and adding some type of milk or cream will help neutralize the acidity. The calcium in the dairy helps break down the pH levels, so makes your coffee a little better. But caveat, don't be going through the Starbucks line and getting the coffee with 1,000 calories piled on top of it. It's just gonna it's not coffee at that point.
Exactly.
It's a dessert.
That's what I was just going to say. At that point, you're not having coffee. Coffee is just the base ingredient for all the other stuff that's being thrown on top of it.
Mm-hmm.
And you're right, it is a dessert, and it's a dessert that people are having like first thing in the morning too. So
you're starting your body out with the sugar, with these high carbs,
right? And then your body's going to want to chase that sugar feeling the rest of the day. So the less you can put in your coffee, the better.
For sure. So make sure you stay hydrated with that.
This goes for tea as well. I mean, we're talking about caffeine, but coffee is just the most widely used variation of caffeine outside of energy drinks, and it's the one most commonly used. So that's why we keep referencing that. But this also applies to tea as well, because you can, some people like their tea, but they also like 3 spoonfuls of sugar in it too. So
tea usually has like this better connotation when you think of tea and you think healthy, and that's not always the case, right? Yeah. I mean, so
and there's teas that have very, very high caffeinated levels to them. I know someone who has a tea house and have sampled many teas from there, and there are some that just like will give you heart palpitations because it's so high in caffeine.
What's a tea house?
It's like a coffee house, but they sell tea.
Oh, like a place to go to buy. Oh, okay.
Yeah. Madame Zuzu's up in Highland Park, which is owned by Billy Corgan.
Oh, cool.
I used to spend a lot of time there when we would hang out with him after wrestling shows and stuff like that. They serve vegan food and they serve tea. And so I'm not a big tea guy, but I tried a lot of the different ones there because, they've got a lot of different flavors and stuff. And then he had one that I remember was like a really high concentrated caffeinated one, and I remember I tried that, and it was just like, whoa, I mean, it was a lot, but yeah. So tea, again, there are a lot of good things in tea and variations of tea that have different antioxidants and things like that. But you still want to keep an eye on the caffeine levels and how much of it, because if you're just pounding tea all day long, and we brought this up in an earlier episode. Someone asked if drinking tea counted as part of your water intake for the day, and we said no. And caffeine can be one of the reasons why. And not all tea is caffeinated, and they certainly have different levels of it. But if yours is, and you're hitting that all day, then you're going to start feeling the negative effects of caffeine.
And green tea users, a lot of times people think green tea is great, and it is because of the antioxidant properties that it has. There are caffeinated versions of that. So make sure if you are sensitive to caffeine, you're taking a look at that box and seeing if there's caffeine or if that it is non-caffeinated or uncaffeinated.
People ask also about caffeine and working out. There are supplements out there that give you a real big boost of caffeine before you work out. I personally do not recommend this for a number of reasons. I don't care how they package it. Right. They will try to make it look like this is healthy for you, and you're going to get a better pump in your workout for having this, and you'll have more energy, and you will have more energy. You might go out there like a lion, and but that doesn't mean that you're not pushing your heart harder than it should be.
Completely agree. And a lot of them are, like you said, they're packaged, and just like sugar and just like sodium, they're manufactured caffeine. Mm-hmm. You might say green tea extract, but it's made in a lab and it's fake. And we don't know the potential effects on our heart. We don't know the potential effects on our body. All those, I forget what episode it was that we had it talking about energy drinks. You guys got to dump them. They're not good for you at all. And they're causing a bunch of heart palpitations in people.
A couple of years ago, I was at the gym, and there was a guy. I talked to him in passing. You say hi, whatever. Right. It's about as much as we ever said or anything. One day, I'm working out, and the next thing I know, he's on the floor, and he's turning purple, and he stopped breathing. So he had one of his best friends. His best friend was there. And was over there, and so he started doing CPR on him, and then I ran over there because I know CPR.
I actually remember you telling me this a few years ago, wasn't it? Yeah,
I remember this. Yeah. So I ran over there, and then so he and I then started taking turns, between breathing and pumping. I mean, this is the only time I've ever had to legitimately do CPR, in a real emergency. And the guy just was turning purple, and you could see the veins like bulging in his head and everything. And anyway, it was obviously a frightening experience. We were able to keep him going until the paramedics got there, and he did survive, thankfully. But I later came to find out that he has had a history of heart issues, and he had one of those NO pre-workouts, and the pre-workout supplements typically have big doses of caffeine in them, and all he did was walk on the treadmill for about 15 minutes, and that was enough to send his heart off like that, and he ended up having a stroke, and that's what happened.
Oh my God.
So I just say that just because that's firsthand experience I've had, where I've seen someone just take the supplement, do nothing more than walk 15 minutes on the treadmill. And I did see the guy afterwards, and there was definitely some sort of permanent damage done from that. And so caffeine is not something to screw around with. It's something that, it's fine in moderation. Like I said, I have my coffee every day too. But when you get into working out and the supplements that they have out there, and they show like guys who are beat red in the face as like their spokesperson,
they're sweating,
and their veins are bulging and all that. Well, that's not something you want.
No.
They're trying to draw you in with this and be like, look, you could be like this beast or whatever and stuff. But it's like, if your body's doing that, it's screaming for help. So
I've done some of those pre-workout drinks. Some of the names on them are like, they sound like they're going to kill you, total war and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's like revenge.
Yeah.
Or, yeah.
I mean, and yeah, you have a great workout, but this is when you have to put health before fitness, right? I mean, you have to be healthy along your fitness journey. And if you're taking that stuff just so you can perform a certain way or look a certain way, it's just not worth it. In the longevity of it, it's just not worth it. And you don't know if you have a heart problem.
Yeah, and that's the other thing is some people don't realize
You don't know.
And the other thing is that being on this stuff will develop a heart problem.
Right.
So, I mean, like if you're taking pre-workout on the regular and it's going to catch up to you. I don't care what your workout routine is like. I don't care if you drink 2 gallons of water every single day.
It's not worth it.
It's going to catch up to you, and you will develop you're going to have an enlarged heart. You're going to have high blood pressure. You're going to have a racing heartbeat sometimes. It's going to do stuff to your brain to make that function like overly, like hyperactively. So it's just there's a lot of reasons to stray away from anything that's super high caffeine, or if you're taking in a large amount even over the course of the day. If you're drinking coffee from the morning until the afternoon, that's just too much caffeine.
Yeah, think about it. I mean, let's just go through a typical American day, right? Coffee with some type of sugar in it. So now you're getting sugar, coffee, all that high, right? You dip down, you go for a soda that has caffeine and fake crap in it, right?
Yep.
You go for that high. Now your blood sugar's spiking. You have all these negative effects there. And then you go to work out and you have a pre-workout caffeinated beverage.
Oh, yeah.
Or a Monster or one of those Celsius or one of those things. You got to cut it somewhere. You got to really look, again, strategize your day, pick and choose when you're going to have your caffeine and make it as close to natural as possible. Coffee's been around for a long time. It's okay to have that. More of the stomach acid is what I worry about.
Yeah.
So guys, everything in moderation, no matter what you're doing, just stay hydrated, stay healthy, and always come to us for any questions that you have.
And as always, please do check out our Facebook page, the Trippi Coaching Podcast Facebook page. We are on YouTube. We are on Spotify. We are on Apple Podcasts. You can leave a review. You can rate the episode. If you do leave a review, it might just get read here on the show. And
share these episodes with your friends. That is one of the biggest ways to boost our what'd you call it?
Our audience.
Audience. Thank you very much.
If you want to help spread the word, if you enjoy the show, please do. It's a big help to us, and we ultimately are just trying to help as many people as we can. And so if you can help get us into the ears of others, that would be great. And we'll just keep doing our thing.
Keep doing our thing.
With all of that said, as always, I of course have been who else but Tommy else.
And I am Andrea Trippi. And until the next time, here's to a healthier, more confident you.
The Trippi Coaching Podcast is produced and mixed by me. Who else but Tommy else? Theme song provided by Professor Click. Be sure to check him out at ProfessorClick.com. All one word, KLIQ.com. The content provided in the Trippi Coaching Podcast is for informational purposes only and is not intended as a substitute for professional, medical, health, wellness advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always seek the advice of your physician or other qualified health provider with any questions you may have regarding a medical condition. Be sure to like, rate, and review the show, and you may hear your review read on a future episode. And follow the Trippi Coaching Podcast on Facebook for exclusive content.